Hello, everybody. It's Denis Clifford here, Chief Customer Officer with Virto Commerce. I'm delighted today to be joined by former colleague and good friend of mine, Jim McGregor, who's the head of Change Enablement for Global E-Business at Heineken NV out of Amsterdam. Jim, how are you?
I'm good. I'm fighting the winter blues with the nights being a bit colder and a little bit wetter, but yeah, counting down to Christmas.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I hope you have a hot cup of tea or coffee or something. And thanks for joining me for a chat. So, Jim, at the moment, I'm meeting with some thought leaders, subject matter experts, and all around cool people that I like to talk about some topics that are sort of adjacent to the work of Virtual Commerce. As you well know, because of our association with Heineken now since 2017. Virtual Commerce as an e-commerce technology provider are working with global companies and helping them to transform their routes to market. Um, yeah, I'm very, very happy to be part of Heineken's success. I think Heineken now has Virtual Commerce deployed in something like 20 markets. You, of course, will know far more than me. But wholly apart from the technology, there are kind of topics around that I think are really, really interesting. And I've been talking to some thought leaders in this space. And given your expertise in the world of change enablement and change management, I thought that was really important to be talking about. So maybe you can just briefly tell me and anybody who might be watching afterwards what you do at Heineken and what you're accountable for.
I've been on this digital journey for around about 10 years now, working in the UK business when we started to embrace the very technology that Virto is now using, which is allowing customers to order online. And that has grown over the last decade to a position where we have over 10 billion of our revenue going through these platforms. And many customers in Europe is a great example. Around 80% of our what we call our fragmented trade, which is pubs and clubs and small businesses ordering online, which is completely different from what they had done before. So in that time, I predominantly played not a technical role. So if you're going to
Mm.
start asking me questions about technology stacks or infrastructure architecture, it's not really. I have a good understanding of technology, but I'm really focused and have been focused on the human side of change. So
Yeah.
what impact is this going to have into our business models and the people within it? Because it's a big part of what we do when we do transformation is how we get people to adopt these new approaches. And it's often forgot. I'm very passionate about it. You'll hear me in many times in this call talking about the importance of change management, often misunderstood, and not just in Heineken, but in many, many different industries. And it's super important. So it's really about enabling that change. And that simple things like change management desk comes in much later in the
Mm.
process.
Okay.
When we're doing our budgets for next year, we're talking about the change. The very clear how much we'll spend on technology, very clear how much we'll spend on that project management and the people. But often we don't talk about change management and we bring it in once the resistance has started, when actually it needs to be right at the beginning of the strategic conceptual idea of what we're trying to change so that we
Yes.
could understand the readiness of the department or organization and we can predict some of that resistance and try to mitigate against it. So, technology, absolutely, I understand it, but my expertise is around the human side of change and how to mitigate against that. Any large or small consultancy firm will tell you that 70% of transformation fails, and often it's change management that does that. In fact, Bain has it as high as 88% that you don't meet what you're trying to do. And without a good change management, you're definitely going to be in that failure rate.
Mhm. I've heard you say this, Jim, and I was reminded of it by another former colleague in a consultancy company last week in a separate discussion I was having. You were saying, 70%, as high as 88% of change projects fail. The statistic that I often quote you on with Virtual customers and with others is that only about 30% of the overall effort, the sort of lift in a digital transformation project, is actually on the technology side. The rest of it is about people, it's about processes, it's about budgeting, it's about change, it's about comms. Do you have any, really good examples where it's been done well, where people have recognized that, budgeted accordingly, and achieved success as a result?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to call out individual countries, Dennis, if you don't
Sure.
mind. But when we're doing that strategic approach about what we're trying to achieve, the operating companies around the world, the ones that put into their budget the actual resources and what is needed in order to make the change happen. So this common misconception, this is about communication and training. It's far more than that.
Mm.
As I was talking about, it's about doing the assessment early on, putting things in place, communication, and physical people who are going to be those transformation leads. And I've seen it being very successful when they've had someone senior in the project that's purely their job is about transformation. They'll be the transformation director for the period of
Right.
time how to make the change. But that's when we're doing quite a lot of change. So it's not just technology, it's maybe changing the operating model. So that the ones that invest in that, you have senior stakeholder engagement, you have the resources against it. Another common problem that we have is we engage the top and we engage the bottom, the people that are going to adopt the change, and we miss that middle management piece. So you have
Yeah.
to look at all the different stakeholders. So, and these are baked with numbers that talk about higher adoption rates, faster to complete projects, etc., when you invest in that change management element.
Very good. Thanks, Jim. I hope to in an upcoming call with another subject matter expert in this area cover the topic of, let's say, organization effectiveness, structure of teams, and how you have to restructure your organization around digital. Um, my experience has been, very often digital is kind of set up, or digital commerce is set up as a sort of an adjunct or a sort of a separate entity somehow kind of bolted onto the business, but the main business kind of stays as it always did. But I think the really successful digital transformation projects are the ones where the whole thing becomes digital, if you know what I mean. All of the business adapts around it and changes in order to support it. Do you have any sort of good practices, Jim, that you would share around the structure of teams? What are the roles that really make digital critically a success and are critical to the success of digital? So one of them is the change manager you just mentioned, or somebody accountable for the transformation. But any other roles around digital that you see are critical for success?
Well, those more senior roles are the people who are going to be driving the change, overseeing it. But you need to have champions around the different departments. So upskilling people that maybe have a day job, but you appoint them as a change champion. They could
Mm,
be the people that are lower down the ranks that people can go to adopt a different change. So and that's not necessarily resource heavy because you're asking them to do a little bit extra on top of the day job. And because digital is often seen from perhaps our younger career oriented people as an area they want to get into, there's not really a sort of volunteer or people who want to be a part of the larger digital product. And
mm,
then another thing I'll mention, it kind of made me think when you were saying that is, so we talk about Heineken e-business, but we're actually moving away from that and just talking about it as the business because
yeah.
it's not that far away that we're going to stop talking about digital and non-digital, on and offline, and we're just going to really adopt it as just one of the elements of our overall structure, trying to get away from these silos of having a traditional IT department and a sales department and a mark. There's digital flowing through all of these. However, we want to be incorporating them within it. Something we did do in Heineken was we made the bridge between our IT, which we call D&T, Data and Technology Department, and commerce by having the product team between and working with both. And that, I believe, really helps build that more business focused side of IT. So what is the problem you're trying to solve, and not and we've got the technical people in the background really helping us with that information. So not too commercial, not too technical. You need a blend of both.
Yeah, and those roles are really getting blurred, actually. I mean, if you talk to any, commercial person, let's say, who's come into a senior role over the last kind of 15 years or so, they're very comfortable with technology as part of the conversation. And similarly, I'm increasingly seeing technical leaders much more focused on overall business success and value
Yeah.
and experience and all of these kind of things. So I think that's broadly a very positive thing. Virtual Commerce is a composable modular e-commerce platform. It's a sort of all the things you need and none of the stuff you don't, depending on your specific set of needs. And I think that idea of flexibility, composability, modularity, etc., really appeals to both the business decision makers and the commercial decision makers in e-commerce projects, because they can kind of envisage Virtual working inside their business a little bit more easily. We would sort of stand ourselves apart from maybe more monolithic technology platforms who've maybe been around for a very long time, and you kind of have to fit the business to how they operate. And what we're really trying to do is go out into the market and say, well, actually, you're the expert on your business. You run your business. Let us adapt around kind of what you're doing. And I think those kind of blurred lines between sales and technology are quite comfortable with that kind of conversation. At least that's how I've seen it, over the last period of time.
One of the things that Virto does very well, and I'm not trying to promote your business here, is, and with the modern advantage of APIs and the fact that you can bolt into a business's kind of core IT structure, the flexibility that Virto showed, because we know that we have 74 operating countries around the world, many of which we are supplying our technology for, and we make and we market, we sell beer, and you think they're all the same, but they're not. There's different business models, and I won't bore your audience with the different ones. So that flexibility around having a core offering, which you do have, but being able to adapt it, there's a real importance about the flexibility. And I've been around for a long time, as you know, and I remember when you have to stick to the technology stack you had, you'd have to try to customize it to fit your business. Whereas now it's more about trying to have the core. We have a big transformation that's happening around our business called Digital Backbone. Small core with the platforms around it and then the apps around that gives you a lot more flexibility with your technology. Add on things that you need in order to, which is what we're trying to do, increase our customer experience, add value, and also we want to obviously be more efficient as we can be.
Yep. Well said. That value point is a good link into something else I wanted to ask you about, because you're not only an expert and a thinker, a leading thinker in the area of change enablement, but I know you also talk a lot about AI and the role that artificial intelligence will have in business. So Virto, like any technology companies investing heavily in AI, we have some really interesting tools. Like on the PIM side of what Virto Commerce does, we can complete product data sets using artificial intelligence. So if product data is incomplete, we can complete that. We have a really cool feature, image to order, where you can capture an image of even a handwritten note. So if a contractor is out on a site, for example, and writes an order on a piece of drywall, you can take a picture of that and it'll parse it and translate the order. So all those kind of cool things that AI can do. But I heard somebody say at a conference last week that their experience with AI in B2B at the moment is largely, not exclusively, but largely a series of isolated use cases, which are interesting in and of themselves and standalone, and they're really cool. And you'll probably tell your friends about it and say, God, I saw this thing the other day. It was excellent. But we're really still looking for where it completely transforms a business model in a way that was completely unheard of before. It's a little bit linked to something I've heard you say at conferences about, AI is really an extension of machine learning in a sense, at least as it is today. Are you seeing any of those really big transformational AI use cases, Jim, or is it mostly these isolated things that I'm seeing?
At the moment, Dennis, it's mostly these isolated cases and they're good cases of adding value, whether that's driving revenue or creating efficiencies. And you think about AI has been around from the 50s, first with automation, then with machine learning, and the real game changer, and Dennis, it is a game changer. I've been around for a while. I've heard all these things about in the last 10 years. When I was kind of understanding technology, it was a case of IoT, Internet of Things. It's going to change everything. It's going to change the world. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then we had things like blockchain. I was like, oh, what's blockchain? That sounds interesting. And again, that didn't, and then metaverse. And I can give you a lot of different examples. But this really is a game changer. But we're not there yet. So you've got automation, machine learning, the generative AI is really where it's. So we're getting these pockets of great examples, but we're not getting an overall transformation. But I think it's in the post, and I don't think it is far away.
Yes.
And one of the things I try to get people to understand that when it does arrive, and I do believe that this is when it's going to be really transformational, we need to be ready for it. And
Yes.
lots of companies, the boring stuff, they're looking at the exciting stuff, the things that the C-suites are being presented with these, they're not looking at your data set, your data hygiene, all that. You have to have that in the right state before you're going to really leverage this in the year to come. And also processes, really understanding and mapping your processes in such a way that you have that all set for when this does come. But to answer your question, I'm at the moment seeing pockets of real value, but
Yes.
I think the transformation is on its way, and you need to get the basics right before you start seeing that in the future.
Yeah. Really
Another
interesting.
thing I would say, Dennis, is
Go on.
nobody really knows, right?
Yes.
We have all these AI experts, and I don't have the expertise of some of the people that you have that are real technical experts. But I have these consultancy firms pitching themselves as experts, and I'm being honest, no one really knows the ins and outs of AI, where the value is. I can give you examples of where I've seen it, but the
Yes.
true transformation stuff, we're still in those early stages. So when you have a consultant show up and tell you they have the answer, I don't believe they do. I think it's
Yeah.
businesses testing and learning and doing different pieces of work to find the value. And as I say, when we have the real revolution that's on its way, be ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a well-made thought about being ready for it, and it will be transformational. I agree with you. An awful lot of what we're doing in let's say e-business, as you would call it, Heineken, or digital business, e-commerce, whatever, is a digitization of something that has probably been around for quite some time. And I'm abridging part of a talk that I've given in the past where, if you think about, fintech and how that's kind of done, 150 years ago, you could, go into any store and you could get credit, and they would give you a flexible credit term probably. Flexible delivery models. Somebody on a bike would bring your groceries back to your house, personalization. If you walked into a grocery store 100 years ago and your shopkeeper knew you, they would probably say, "Hey, I've just got this new product and I think you really, really like it." And they'd let you try it. So those kind of concepts at a human level are not entirely new. But AI is entirely new, and this is something that can think for itself. In a sense, it can generate ideas in ways that humans haven't been able to do it. So I agree with you, and I love that idea, the idea that some level of intelligence that's artificial has been around, with automation and things like that. That's not a new concept, but the fact that it's generative is the bit I think that makes people feel maybe a little wobbly from time to time.
And I think I really like what you said there, Dennis. I really like the fact that we're linking it back to what we've always been trying to do in commerce. We're trying to
Mm,
increase our revenue, sell more. We're trying to do it in a really efficient way. If we can save money, we're going to make more profit. And if we have a good customer experience, those three things are the same now as they were over 100 years ago, as you say. I think that's a really good point. And then AI is all that's trying to do is enhance those three things that all commerce businesses are trying to achieve. But the acceleration of some of those things, I think, is very, very interesting. So, but again, love what you said. We're trying to do what we've always done. We're just trying to do it in a better way.
yeah, for sure. Well, Jim, thanks for taking the time to share some of your thoughts with me today. It's always a pleasure listening to you chat. Again, we're delighted, Virto, with our association with Heineken over the last number of years. And part of that, of course, is the commercial success of the platforms and the amount of revenue. But it's also given us the opportunity to get to know some of the people at Heineken better and some of the thought leaders. So thanks for sharing, Jim. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Hope I could have added some insight to the audience, and always joy speaking to you, Dennis.
Cool. Thanks, Jim. Thank you.
Okay, that little pause at the end just so you can edit.
Yeah, exactly. That's very cool, Jim. Thanks.
Okay,
You're
no,
you're
my
you're
pleasure.
you've
My
such
pleasure.
a good flow about you when you start. It's all natural and it's just we're having the chat and come on in till I tell you and sit down there now. Don't be worrying a bit about it. It's going to be grand. So yeah, it's great. Thanks a million, Jim.
No problem. Anything else I could help you with, just let me know, my friend.
I will. What I'll do is I'll ask the team if they could do a little edit. I'll share it with you and see if you're happy with those snippets. Because to be fair, you're representing yourself and you're representing Heineken. So I think only fair just to give you an opportunity to say, yeah, that's grand. I'm comfortable with that. But I don't think either of us said anything particularly out of hand. So I think we're all good. So hopefully that's of use to you as well, Jim, as it is to me.
No worries. Okay, Dennis.
Thank you, Jim. See you now.
Thanks. See you later. Bye-bye.
Ciao, bye.